Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Aqueduct. Bright sunshine on this Saturday here at the Big A. Temperature will be in the low 50s. As we start the day, the main track is muddy. We are on the turf today for races 3, 6, 8, and 9. The outer turf is yielding. The inner turf is good. The portable rail is up at 12 feet on the outer. The portable rail is up at 9 feet on the inner. And please note that race 3 has been switched to the outer turf course. We have an Empire 6 jackpot carryover of more than $67,000. Right now we'll take a look at the day's changes. The first race is off the turf, goes on the main track at the same distance. Scratch 1, Dream Point. 6, Flincher's Rock. Scratch 8, Out of Tune. An equipment change for the 9, Martinez. He'll run with blinkers on the 9. Also scratch 13, Dancing with the Stars, and 14, Full Moon Fever. Number 16, Go Cash Go, will be ridden by Manny Franco. Franco on the 16, and again recapping the scratches in the first, which is off the turf. Scratch numbers 1, 6, 8, 13, and 14. Second race, scratch 1, Magnetron, part of an entry, and scratch the 4, Cause of Action. Scratch 1 and 4. Third race, on the turf, it's been moved to the outer turf course. Scratch 1A, Rational Choice, 2, Iron Pearls, and the 13, No Obligation. Scratch 1A, 2, and 13 out of the third. The fourth race is off the turf. Scratch 1, False Alarm. Number 2, Positively, will be ridden by Eric Consell. Consell rides the 2. Scratch 3, Impossible Odds. Scratch 5, 3 Outlaws. Scratch the 6, Wild William. A rider change on the 7 on the couch to Erod Ortiz Jr. Erod Ortiz Jr. rides the 7. Also scratch 8, Veterans Beach. 10, Big Wonder. And 11, Our Troubadour. Again, the scratches in the fourth, which is off the turf. It'll be run on the main track at the same 6 furlong distance. Scratch numbers 1, 3, 5, 6, 8, 10, and 11. In race 5, which starts the Empire 6, scratch the 9, Magnificent Chrome. Scratch number 9. Sixth race, on the turf. Scratch 5, starting over. 8, Family Biz, and 10, Kendama. Scratch 5, 8, and 10. The seventh race is the Notebook Stakes, and there are no changes. The eighth race is on the turf. Scratch 5, Slimy. 8, Our Circle of Love. Scratch 9, Bradenberry. 11, Dendrobia. 13, Gypsy Janie, and 14, Gone Glimmering. In the eighth, scratch 5, 8, 9, 11, 13, and 14. And please note that Aqueduct's eighth race is the first leg of today's cross-country Pick 5. The ninth race is the Artie Schiller Stakes. It's on the turf. Scratch 5, Hembry. 6, Backside of the Moon. Scratch 11, Seafoam. 12, Chili in Charge. And 13, Compounded. Scratch 5, 6, 11, 12, and 13. And no changes to report in today's 10th and final race. Once again, right now the main track is muddy and it is harrowed. We are on the turf today for races 3, 6, 8, and 9. Race 3 has been moved to the outer. The outer turf is yielding and the portable rail is at 12 feet. The inner turf is good and that portable rail is at 9 feet. The jackpot carryover in the Empire 6 stands at $67,146. We'll come back at 11:20 to recap the changes. Today's first race post is at 11:50. Coming up next, the Saturday edition of Talking Horses with Andy Serling, then Anthony Stabile.
Morning, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses. He is the big A, Anthony Stabile. I'm Andy Serling.
We match.
We're really coordinated today.
Wow, I even noticed that.
Really, really cute.
Yeah, I was. Man, I can't remember now. Fly and I can't remember the other word that was used to describe me so far this morning.
So, welcome to Talking Horses on a Saturday here at Aqueduct. We're off the turf in races 1 and 4. Excuse me. We are off the turf in races 1 and 4. I believe they're listing the outer as yielding and the inner as good. The third race was moved from the outer, inner to the outer. So we'll have 2 on each course. They're listing the course as muddy, the main track. I'm going to guess with the weather and the wind, a little wind, will be drying out pretty quickly. So wouldn't be surprised to see it good by post time, but we'll see how things go. I imagine it is harrowed. The rain is behind us.
When Johnny came on to do the scratches, they showed the 5 harrows stacked.
Wow. Anyway, head over to Naira Bets. We got a lot to talk about today. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, use the promo code MATCH200. We will match up to $200 of your initial deposit. Bet through Naira Bets. That's all I can tell you. Cross Country Pick 5. Races 6 and 7 at Churchill. Races 8, 9, and 10 at Aqueduct. We're doing this every day. We're both running. Keep in mind, we are there off the turf at Churchill Downs today. That includes their stake, the Mrs. Revere, which I'm guessing was the 17th of 18 or something like that. We'll be on, I think, until 3 o'clock this morning on America's Day at the races.
Hendy Woods scratched out of that race.
Really? All right. Good to know. Thank you. Oh, that's right. There's that that ridiculous myth out there that the Churchill dirt course plays like a turf course. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of my favorite lies in racing. So let's get to work. We're off the turf in race number 1. Where are you going here?
I landed on Halpert. This was just a little bit of for me, it was a little bit of a guessing game. I did not really prefer any of these on the dirt, if I'm being honest with you, Mr. Serling.
You usually up here being dishonest?
Landed on Halpert. Well, no, you know,
I was sure that you would pick the 11 in here, so I picked the 10 on top, so I wouldn't have the same horse as you.
No.
Okay. What is there a story on Halpert? I mean, Halpert was going to be very top of the turf in here.
I had no story. I mean, I like the, obviously on the turf, he came out of the step dance. He went a mile on the 16th first time out.
Well, he set a very, very fast pace first time on the turf in a race that completely collapsed. That was the reason to like him, I think, but that's on the turf.
He cuts back now, and he's going to try dirt. Listen, like I said, big early spread for me in the early pick 5.
Yeah, I'm sure Jeremiah's gotten a little impatient. This horse was reined off the turf now 2 straight times since trying to get him in. I thought the 10 and 11 were the right 2. I don't disagree with you, Anthony. I think that it's very hard to like anybody in here. I think the point, you're supposed to avoid horses like the number 9, Halpert, who will be short based on his... Martinez. I would avoid Halpert as well. 2 horses I think will be bet off of turf races and the kind you should play against here. The 11 Sonic Speed, they kind of gave up on him first time, something you and I had talked about before his last race. One of the reasons that you used him last time, I think you had that exacta. I know you thought it was a long shot and you thought it was live, and I think you had the exacta in there.
Thanks.
And What's My Category has been gelded and has some speed in here as well. Thought those 2 horses would be forwardly placed. I preferred the 10, 11. Like I said, I was so sure you'd pick the 11. I put the 10 on top. I probably prefer the 11, but it's, at a price.
You don't see this a lot. I don't know if it was just a mistake. Blinkers on the 9 Martinez. Shug doesn't usually have the late equipment changes, but they're putting blinkers on the 9 Martinez.
Or maybe he just didn't get recorded.
Yeah,
when he tried
whatever it was. Dirt. I don't know.
Unlike some other trainers here, he actually gets his stuff in on time.
Just maybe
some others who shall remain nameless, but we all know exactly who they are.
Just a miss, maybe. Yeah. But it's a little bit of, and I get what you're saying. If you don't like anything, you're going to guess a little bit. You might as well try and find some prices.
Yeah. I even threw Data Deal in. Did run against some realistic horses in his first race. Didn't do much running, but did run against some reasonable horses. I was more, excuse me, excuse me, to clear that throat before I came up here. Probably because I hadn't talked to anybody in about 10 hours, 20 hours. We done? You have something to say? You look like you're...
No, we're good. 6 is scratched. I sent the change in. No big deal.
It's not the afternoon show. It doesn't really matter what the picks are up here. It doesn't really matter about any of it. Race number 2. Take a look at Scores When He Wants, running a couple races back. This was before he was eased last time out, and that was back in March. Now, Scores When You Want, when he ran well in this race behind I Love Jackson, we can take a break. Wait for it. He's obviously going to win this race if he runs these races.
No question about it.
It's not even a discussion. I put him on top, Anthony. I didn't want anybody
came
else
very
in
close.
here. I'm not endorsing a horse like this. They're never the kind of horses I particularly want to bet on, but I don't know.
I did something I don't normally do, Andy. I snuck a peek. When I saw you put him on top, I didn't.
No, I don't.
But I don't blame. But listen, if he literally has.
Well, he'll drown this
6
field.
races on his card. That 4 of them drown the field, 2 of them.
3 of them. But particularly the ones for Brad Cox.
Yeah.
Now, who knows what happened? He's coming back now off an 8-month layoff.
And he's
dropping down to a low level.
He's never been in this cheap.
And he's a terrible horse to take a gamble with. There's no question about it. I don't trust anybody. I do think Caraverdassi is the other horse in the race, unless you want to just blindly stab. And listen, I put the horse third, but you're blindly stabbing that this horse is going to miraculously improve for Rob Atras. But frankly, it wouldn't be the first.
Yeah, a horse that has a little bit of speed. Going to Rob for the first time. We'll see. I mean, he was the only. To me, he was the only horse I wanted to even attempt, and that's because he's going to Rob and he has some speed. If the horse can show some speed and maybe get in front of this field.
Well, he's not going to win because he gets in front of this field. He's going to win because Rob Atras moves him up precipitously. Yeah. I mean, that's.
But they're in hand, right? I mean, part of the reason Rob does so well
Anthony doesn't
is because
really have
he doesn't
really have any speed. He's showing speed in relatively tepid races. Now, maybe Rob increases his speed, but he's not that fast, this horse. I mean, from a pace figure standpoint, this is not a particularly quick horse. Not saying that he can't be forward in here and he won't be, but there are other horses here that show speed. What do you do with Daddy Knows? I mean, is his career over? Feels like it.
Man, his last 2 races were just...
No, I know, but...
They were bad. They were bad. Listen, even when he won, he didn't beat the best field in the world when he won the maiden, the off-the-turf race going 1 1/8 up at Saratoga 2 summers ago. When he beat Tiergan, he was able to get in front of those horses.
He's a different horse than he was. He ran badly for Linda. Rudy claims. I don't know.
Oh, you didn't use him at all? Yeah.
I'm not going to listen.
He's hard.
No, I can't bet him.
The early double off the turf in the first in this race was a little tough to navigate through.
And I agree, and I think you have to run through the 7. And I don't know, of course, when you're not, of course, when you want. I think if David's right and he's 5-2, he's not winning.
He can't be 5-2.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to make the line.
If he's 5-2,
feels like he's going to finish 6th in here. That's what I think. I agree.
I thought he'd be even money.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they would at least have him 8-5 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I get it. It's a tough blind to make, and it's a tough situation. But he's supposed to be short in here. We'll see. But you're right. If he's not short, he's not winning. Race number 3, in all likelihood. Race number 3. Unless we get some of that funny betting again. We had a little
Well,
funny betting
that's
yesterday.
1, and 2. If this race is as open as the morning line is on the tote board, you'd have to think that he's in a lot of trouble today.
Race number 3. I want to talk about a horse that has turf experience that's going to take money, and that's the number 10 Master of the Ring, who broke from post 12. And if you don't watch this race, you might get a mistaken impression of the kind of trip he got. He's the number 12 horse in here. This ride by Tyler Gaffalione was a textbook ride of how to ride horses from outside posts. Leave, but don't get yourself caught up outside in the flank of another horse. Make sure you're behind horses, so when the field spreads a little bit, or if it does, like this, you can actually get yourself the rail from the outside post. So anybody that thinks this horse was in any way compromised by getting an outside post, that's why you have to watch replays.
It was gone in a 1/16 of a mile.
It's incredible.
He did an amazing
frankly,
job. Perfect ride. This is a perfect ride.
This horse got about as good a trip as a horse can get.
From the 12 hole.
The only thing I'll say is he did sort of start running late. Now, my experience is when horses run like this and then they gallop out and they run when the race is over, they're usually phonies. But I will say with this horse, suddenly he kicks it in the late stages and he runs by everybody. He's about 5 strides after the wire. But I don't think he's that good. I'm not going to be surprised if he wins.
We both put him 4th. I completely agree with you. Tyler did an amazing job. Listen, there are guys that can't get that trip from the 4.
We got it.
Problem is, like you said, it's
Crew-
kind of dressed up a little bit.
You
I
like
like the
Crew
one in
Dragon.
the 6 in here. Yeah, I went to Crew Dragon. I think I like the Space Launch Scarlet Sky race a little bit more than you do.
Well, it's a bad race going forward. Horses have come out of that race to not run particularly well. That's why I don't like it, Anthony. I mean, I'm not saying he can't win, but it's not a race that's proving to be particularly strong.
Thought he ran okay first time. The horse usually get better second time out. He has a little experience. He has the race under his belt on the lawn. I just went with him.
Yeah, I won't be shocked if he runs well. I won't be shocked if the 10 wins this race, but I think he'll be bet off that race. I took the one risk-taking, a horse that took money in a very competitive field first time out. The dam was all turf, and it feels like this was one where Chad Brown probably should have run the turf. He probably liked the horse enough to give it a try in the dirt.
Right.
But from the dam side, and listen, Zagliador's got a good turf influence. It's probably turf. I think this horse will run better in here. Original's a little bit interesting. Original got bet first time out. This horse to be 8-1 in that incredibly difficult maiden race. I think he got bet. The problem is, it's not really a turf pedigree. It's an unraced dam, and she's 0 for 4 with her production, and they're all bad on the turf. But
The famous fifth pick, but like you, this horse took money in a pretty loaded dirt race, but didn't do any running. I think that's the big issue there, right? I mean, this horse didn't run a step. And now they're trying the turf, and like you said, there's really not a ton there. But, more often than not, when there's smoke, there's fire, and this horse is going to come back. He's probably going to be double digits on the board today, and, he ran 7/8 on the dirt first time out, didn't do any running. Now he's on the turf. The blinkers come off. He gets Joel Rosario. Yeah, I mean...
The rails are down on the outer. I'm sorry, they're up on the outer turf course. I'm not sure how far, but that will mitigate any bias we've had. I'm not sure about the inner if they're still down. It felt like they were still towards the rail when I looked yesterday afternoon, but I know that they're out on the outer turf course, and that will obviously mitigate any bias that we had of the inside bias opening week here. First turf race of the second week, and the weather. The weather report looks okay for tomorrow until very late in the day.
It keeps getting later and later, which is a good thing.
So it feels like there's a chance we'll get all those turf races, and a good chance we'll get them all in tomorrow. So that's good news. Looking forward to seeing. The inner is out 9 feet. The outer is out 12. So forget about that inside bias that we saw the first weekend here. That will be mitigated. Race number 4, we are off the turf in race number 4. What do you like about Breeze Burner that you've got him on top?
Shipping in first time from Finger Lakes, nude barn, Wayne Potts, who Wayne does a good job.
So this is a Wayne Potts move. Okay, you can say it.
This is a Wayne Potts move. Horses.
So Wayne Potts, whose horses have run miraculously well, it seems, is definitely a guy to be dangerous. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with taking a shot with his horses. They're running, obviously, pay no attention. The morning line, that morning line was set based on a turf race. I thought Three Jokers was probably the horse to beat. This was his race 2 races back off the turf at Saratoga, and he ran against Gamby Dancing last time out. I thought he worked out a very good trip in this race because the race kind of got hot a little in the middle of it, and he was running when the race was somewhat over. But regardless, he's run the faster races, and I just thought he was very logical in here, Anthony.
Yeah, very logical. I just wanted to take a shot with the hot barn. That was it. But they're the 2 horses I want to concentrate on in here.
I'm surprised. So you don't see? I like Leap to Glory in this race. Why don't you like Leap to Glory, who exits a race that had a ton of speed on paper? Comes off a turf race before that. He's not a turf horse. This horse is a speed. Isn't Manny just supposed to send this horse?
What about Our Destiny? You don't think Our Destiny is as fast as him early?
Is he still in the race?
Yeah.
I didn't expect him to be in
Me
there.
either, but he is.
Yeah, Our Destiny will probably go. Our Destiny's not really as fast as him, but maybe his last race shows that he's got improved speed. We'll see. Leap to Glory's a pretty quick horse. He's just been in some spots with a lot of speed, and I thought he was in a better spot. I like Leap to Glory. I like the 14-12 and a little 9 with you on the Wayne Potts situation. I think you can't leave his horses out.
I think it's hard to leave them out right now.
We're heading to the winter, and so the list of guys you can't leave out is growing around here, and it's a little difficult to see, but that is the situation. We'll break after 5, by the way, on a 10-race card. Close out the early pick 5 and race number 5. A dirt race. What are you doing here?
I went to Dynamic 1.
Is there a big tip here?
The number 1. There's a little push.
Okay.
Not an Uno push, but I got a little push on this horse. And of course, the thing that sticks out the most is Todd Pletcher training one for the Phipps stable.
Well, hang on a second. He's not training one for the Phipps stable. He's training one for Mike Rapoli and Vinny Viola that the Phippses have a piece of.
Yeah, the mare was the mare's an old Phipps mare.
Well, the second dam is Storm Flag Flying. It's a big Phipps family going back. My flag as well. Is she a personal ensign?
Yeah.
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 Personal ensign's the fourth dam of this horse.
That's the three
Fourth
mother, daughter, granddaughter, all in Breeders' Cup races.
Fourth dam. God, I'm old.
Me too.
I was at Belmont the day she broke her maiden. 6 to 5 to 4 to 5, and believe me, back in the mid '80s, when horses didn't go from 6 to 5 to 4 to 5 in the last.
We're on
flash.
to the fifth, Francisco.
Yeah, we're on the fifth. Francisco sleeping, having breakfast, in a
We
conversation
had an early start today.
on Facebook.
It's an early start today.
No, I think there's something going on that he's not telling us about. So anyway, there's a tip on this.
A little bit of a push, yeah. Like the gate move. This horse is working. The last three works are almost exact to the other part of the other Pletcher in here, the number 12 Unbridled Honor. I'm not sure if they were working in company or not.
How do you think Shug would feel if this horse ran the Phipps colors?
I don't think there was any change. The only other time.
I'm just curious.
The only other
I just thought of that.
I remember that happening.
If I was Shug, I wouldn't like that.
Would be a jumper in Saratoga. They had a couple of jumpers, and I want to say Henry Cecil had a handful of horses over the years in Europe for them. Very, very few. Well, back when Shug didn't run anything on the turf.
Shug wasn't running. Wait a second. Shug won the Washington D.C. International in Van Landingham in the big '80s. He ran horses on the turf.
For the Phipps. They didn't run. They hardly ran horses on the turf when Shug first took the job through the mid '90s.
Well, they didn't need to. They won every stake on the dirt.
Strolling Along was the turf horse that really stuck out in the cherry red and the black for many years.
Lexington. Like
he won on the under. He won. I think he was the non-grade 1 winner of the on Super Saturday in '93.
It may have been Lexington. It may have been the old Lexington.
Lawrence Realization or something.
Nah, it was a mile and a half.
Maybe the Lexington.
Also known as the Larry Reel.
Yeah.
He was second day in sociology in the Hall of Fame. That one I remember. We'll see. I don't know. Paid a lot of money for that one. I'm going to go to horses more that raced in here. The Reds, rider switched Jose Ortiz. Not exactly one of the better trips for this one. Broke about a half length slow. I didn't show the whole race, and you could watch it yourself. I mean, this horse, I know they're showing him only less than 10 lengths out of it. Watch the replay. He was more than 10 lengths out of it. And this horse was running at the end in a very, very live field.
Yeah.
Highly motivated, a big win last time. Thought the Reds was extraordinarily interesting, this race. Now we're going to show another replay, not the one I was talking about, because Francisco is sleeping in the booth today, but that's okay. He probably had a rough night. I showed a lot of this race because one of the things I was interested in, is it me or is Wayburn, the horse on the outside and those green yellows, is he a big horse?
Gigantic.
Right. And
the 5 fits in. He's the 7. The 5 looks like he fits inside of him.
Okay, I thought,
gigantic. Look at him. Look at that right there.
He's like a monster, this guy. Now, I thought he was a horse that was primed to run better in his second start. A big horse, took some money in that race, a lot going on in that field. He was 6 to 1. He was bad. I think he'll run better for Jimmy Jerkins with a race under his belt, an extra furlong. And listen, the 11 Kid Cash is going to run third here. And this horse you told me Rudy really liked. I think you picked this horse second.
I did.
I mean, and a bunch of people told me Rudy liked him. You weren't the only one. I actually watched this race with Chad Brown, and he said, Rudy loves his horse in this race. I mean, if he didn't get left, he probably would have won.
Probably would have won. Yeah.
He ran some race. Now he's got to go 7, though. But he's got speed, and I got to tell you, he ran well first time out.
Yeah.
He's okay, that horse.
Yeah, he's out. He's drawn outside.
It's a good race. This is the kind of when we talk about the good horses coming out at Aqueduct, the good 2-year-olds coming out. This is the kind of race we're talking about. Yep. It's a strong race. Rebopper, who's a firster, and it's a very nice dam. The dam was a good sprinter, a firster for Chad Brown and Peter Brandt, and Bob LaPenta partners. This looks like a fun race. Looking forward.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Even Mamza was off the turf, but Mamza was flying at the end of the race.
She was.
Too.
The race fell into her lap. I agree. She did run okay, but the race did fall.
He was making up a lot of ground late in the game. He gets another half a furlong today. Joel Rosario stays aboard.
Another half furlong's not going to help a horse that got caught from behind. When his horse got caught from behind, he didn't make a lot of ground. He got caught from behind. He had the lead. Texas Basic came up the rail and beat him. He came from.
He still made up. I understand what you're saying, but
he made a lot of ground in a race that completely and totally the pace incinerated. Even though the pace doesn't look fast on paper, but it did incinerate. Race number 6 is on the turf. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Late pick 5.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
Welcome back to Talking Horses, the Big A. I'm not. On the turf, mile and a 16th on the inner turf course, rails out 9 feet, so don't worry about the rail. And that's kind of one of the reasons I put my horse on top. But I still think Yes and Yes is a bit of an interesting horse at a price in the race. There are 2 Chad Brown runners in this race, and we'll start with Great in the Curve, winning last time over Clickatat. You know, you go a couple of ways in here. This race got a big fig. Did Clickatat just run really well, or was the pace kind of moderate here and that helped Clickatat, who did move forward, no doubt he's improved, and Great in a Curve, did he overcome a slower pace? But also Great in a Curve, even though he's been effective in 2-turn races, he was born to go a mile on the Widener, a course that is very kind of favorable in general to his kind of closing style.
His running style, yeah.
I got to tell you, though, these horses ran in here. You can't deny it. They put a lot of distance themselves from the rest of the horse in the field. They're not great horses, but they're not bad horses. Nuts and Bolts is a useful kind of horse that runs buyers consistently around 80 to 84. So that's a very, legitimate number. I'm not sure what to do with him, and I kind of side with you, though, that the other Chad Brown horse, Junkanoo, is where you're supposed to go. But let me ask you a question about Junkanoo. There's an argument that his improvement is based on him getting 2 years older. There's also an argument that his improvement, and you and I talked about this before, was based on getting firm turf courses, because he did not get firm courses in his first 2 races. So isn't it possible that he's not going to necessarily be pleased with a course that's got a lot of give in it?
It is.
That concerns me. It has to be a factor.
It is.
And I don't think he's going to be 4 to 1. Who do you think's going to be? Do you think he'll be a bigger price than Great Curves? It's tough. Which one's Irad? See, Irad's on the 7. By the way, Javier getting surgery, Dave Grennan was writing about, in his leg on Monday.
Out till mid-January?
Yeah. He's only getting in the city if he's going to be in the hospital for a few days off to come visit him. That may delay, though, him getting me back. He may not come back till February if I go.
Breaking news, Javier Castellano no longer getting surgery on Monday.
We wish him the best, though. We love Javi.
The mile and a quarter.
No, the last race was ridiculous.
Yeah.
A slow pace race. He's really not a mile and a quarter horse. He makes perfect sense. I don't disagree. I'm worried about the give in the ground a little bit.
See, the fact that he ran slow as a 2-year-old, it doesn't. If these races were as a 3-year-old, it would bother me a whole lot more.
But that was one of your arguments for liking him last time, was he may not have liked the softer turf. So you gotta.
I don't think I argued that much. I don't think I did.
It definitely came up in the conversation.
It could have come out.
Certainly in your purview to have those discussions, whether they're relevant or not.
Yeah.
I think
it's not like he didn't handle them. I mean, I think the slow figures are probably more of a function of 2-year-old racing than it is.
A little bit, but he improved.
A 2-year break.
Yeah, but he came off a 2-year break, which means he had a significant injury.
Right.
So it's not like. I think he is kind of the horse to beat.
I think he's and I think that's the best way to put it. It's just you have a bunch of horses in here that are a little cheaper on paper, have run more cheaply on paper, and he's just a horse I think with the most blue sky.
Well, yeah, but that's because he's lightly raced. But listen, Great in a Curve has improved this year. He's a completely different horse in 2020 than he was last year.
I do think they're the two.
As far as Yes and Yes and Bray, we'll take a look at the race they ran. See, I know that Yes and Yes was helped by getting the inner turf course and getting in front. He's going to be in front here. We'll see. I mean, if Great Camino wants to go with him, then he's getting nothing. But I think Chris DiCarlo is just supposed to go to the lead and try to wire the field. I'm not in love with him. I'm not in love with anybody in this race. So I don't mind taking a shot, because I thought Yes and Yes actually ran pretty well in here. Bray's mostly an opportunistic horse. Maybe he gets the right trip and gets it done. I'm going to try to wire the field with the 2 Yes and Yes. But I will say that this pick was made thinking the rails would still be down because they were down through 2 weeks last year, and this horse might have a tactical advantage by being inside. So it does mitigate the pain.
I know on paper he's supposed to be clearing here.
No, he's not.
I think there were too many.
No, he's not.
I think
he's not. The 3 has speed. The 3's quick.
I know the 3 has speed. I just think there's too many, and again, it's sometimes it's about intent as well. They got to try and get Alley-oop Johnny to the front.
Alley-oop Johnny. Alley-oop Johnny couldn't run with Yes and Yes. If they said your life depends on it, if you run with him, he couldn't get within 3 lengths of him.
I think Yes and Yes. I think with
Yes is an hour faster.
Chris should try and bottom them out.
Blast off.
Yeah, just blast off. I don't think there's any other way to win the race because you have the 3 to 4, and even to click it out a little bit from out there.
Anthony,
he's got to be aggressive. He's got to be trying to get around the top, and otherwise he's going to wind up deep.
Anthony, he can be aggressive. Once again, he doesn't have the speed to be anywhere near horses like the 2 and 3. So yes, they have speed, but they don't have the speed those guys have. If Yes and Yes wants to be in front of them and lets the gas go, those horses couldn't sniff him.
I don't think clicking out is as slow as you think he is. I just don't.
Yeah. How would you like him in a quarter-mile race against the 2?
That's completely
No, I'm just curious.
different.
Where do you think he'd lose
by? One horse is a sprinter and one horse is a distance horse.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
But the last time on
though.
the front end, this horse went 50.
But he
The
doesn't.
sprinter, 'cause they're trying to stretch him out.
He's never shown speed like this. In the middle of July, when the course was rock hard, he was running 23 and 1. Yes and Yes could go 21 and 1 if he has to.
Could.
Right. So. Could a tackle be forward, but he's not going to be in front of the 2.
No, I don't think so. I just there's too many for me. There were too many,
Okay.
and that's why I do think Bray. Because you mentioned how Bray's been opportunistic. He may work out another one of those.
He may get a very fortunate trip in
Yeah.
this race. I don't disagree. Race number 7. Race number 7 is the Notebook. Who trained Notebook?
Frank Martin.
Dwayne Lucas.
Frank Martin never had Notebook?
Dwayne Lucas trained him. Whether or not Frank had him for a start or 2, I don't know. But you said it with such authority. It's okay. We'll move on.
I thought Viola Summer bought the horse at the end of it all. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have a different horse in mind.
You probably do. I think it was the Wayne Lucas horse sole career. And I mentioned the show, and the reason I know it was Wayne Lucas because Greg even looked it up after I said it was Wayne, and it was Wayne.
Okay.
Because we were trying to be certain if it was a horse that maybe was with other trainers. Race number 7, the Notebook. We'll take a look at Blue Gator. This is him winning at Finger Lakes, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what to do with him.
Caught a break this day. Thin White Duke did not break.
Right. He still ran 73 by.
Still jumped up 13 points from his debut.
On a sloppy sealed track.
One of the few horses I've ever bet purely on looks walking out on a racetrack when he broke his maiden. Nice looking horse, big gray. They always look nice, always look better. You don't know what would have happened if Thin White Duke broke this day. But like you said, still made a big jump up from the maiden win. We're going to assume there's not going to be any moisture left. I don't know if there's not going to be any moisture left, but he certainly seemed to handle it last time. Third consecutive start, a horse that has tactical speed is drawn on the far outside. I think that is a huge benefit for him. And I think he's going to get it done again.
I think he's going to be overbet. I think he can definitely win this race, but I think a lot of horses can win this race, and I don't think Blue Gator is any great shakes at 2 to 1 or less in this field. Obviously, he draws outside. It's not necessarily going to hurt him. Track's been very fair even throughout the wet track days, but the reality is that he may be very dressed up off a wet track win last time out. And I think there's some good horses in here. I mean, personally, take a look at Eagle Orb running second in the Sleepy Hollow. If I absolutely trusted Eagle Orb, I think he was a cinch in this race. I think if he runs back to his race that he ran the Sleepy Hollow, the heads of the other horses in this race will be spinning around. He'll win so easily.
Yeah, he put the blinkers on last time, and they got aggressive with him.
This race came apart. He really
and he
ran
kept going.
Here.
Yes, he did.
The problem with him is he ran so well in his second start. Then he came back in the Bonguard, and he absolutely stunk the joint up. I mean, he was awful in that race. So I don't really trust this horse.
Yeah, listen. In the Bonguard, when he was 4 to 5, right, he kind of looked like he was a little lost on the turn. Maybe the blinkers.
You mean like that Linda Rice horse looked lost yesterday? He was bad, Anthony.
Maybe the blinkers got him better, Andy.
Okay, maybe they did. No, maybe they did. I'm not saying.
Yeah,
he was just bad. I don't want to defend that race. That was a pathetic performance by a horse who's run well in all of his other starts.
It was also at a time when Rudy's barn was not going particularly well.
Okay, that's fine.
A bit of a turnaround. I do think the blinkers really got this horse's head in the game.
I think he should be favored here. I think the 7.
And I'll be honest with you, I did not have a morning line. I thought he would. He's been the horse.
People are going to see undefeated and a big win, and I think David probably got this one right. He usually does. I don't think I think that Eagle Orb should be favored. And
or the same price.
I don't think David doesn't make a statement on who he thinks should be favored. It's who he thinks will be favored here. But the truth is, there's a lot of horses in this race that have chances. I mean, I think that. What do you think of the trainer change from the 3 half right, Christophe Clement?
Yeah,
kind of interesting.
Obviously going to leave a New York bred here.
No knock on the assistants, but this horse has been in Doug O'Neill's barn. This horse has now been with Christophe, I would guess, for a little while, probably started with the October 18th work. What do you think of Horn of Plenty? I mean, the problem I have with Horn of Plenty is he was on the gold rail the whole way. I wouldn't say it was gold rail. I thought it was an edge to the rail, more I looked at it. I don't know what to make of that race he comes out of. I'm not sure if it was good or bad.
I'll tell you what. Between Storm Shooter on the inside and Looking for Trouble, who... He wasn't as fast as he ordinarily was in his last start, but
he's never been that fast. He's never been that.
Race 2 back when he was
when he went a 22, which is incredibly slow at 6.5 furlongs in the run up at Saratoga. No, he's got speed, but he's not fast. He's not fast.
I think he'll get a better setup than he got in the maiden win. You're right. He did ride the rail, and it was at the time when Rob Actress's barn was going really well. I think this horse is dangerous, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Rob's barn was going very well at the time. I took a shot with Market Alert. I thought Market Alert showed real promise first time out. So much promise, they decided to take a shot in the Saratoga Special. I don't care what he did in that race. Last time out, he broke slow. He was 3 wide. That was a day the rail was good. I don't think he ran that badly, given the break and his position on the racetrack. And, you know, he gets a couple of months off since that race, and these other horses have been running. I think that Market Alert has shown enough in his races that a horse that may well be the biggest price in this field, and is, according to David, he's better than that. And I think he is definitely a good gamble. I mean, he'll beat Sharp. I think he'll beat Storm Shooter. I think he'll beat Half Right. I think he'll beat Horror Plenty and Looking for Trouble. I'm worried about the 4 and 7, though I don't love the 7. But I'm going to take a shot. I think Market Alert's better than he looks, and I liked a little bit of a break, and he had an excuse last time.
I think you'll get all of that 10-1, if not more, on him.
Well, I hope so. He's working well, too. Working well since his last, since he came back. So I'm going to take a shot.
Ryerson had a good year, too.
Well, I mean, you look at him. After that September 4th race, he didn't work for 25 days. Okay? Then he didn't work for a few weeks, and now he comes back with some nice work since then. A little interesting in a very competitive race.
Okay.
Race number 8 on the turf, the outer turf. Big scratch in here of Bradenberry. And I think that'll help your horse, the number 12, in here, because Aunt Nadine's the speed. But is she really good enough? She's a little interesting.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Mike Maker off the claim.
In the dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have put her.
She's the speed now.
If I knew the 9 was going to scratch, I would have probably had her 3rd in this race and gone 3, 7, 12. I do think she's a horse you have to use in here. I was interested to see you had her in there. As far as Madeline Must, we'll look at the race that Storm Tornado, because you do have to talk about Storm Tornado, the number 7 in here. This is a race going a mile, and she's got you. Actually should have won this race. Madeline Must probably wants shorter. I assume that one of your feelings, Madeline Must, aside from having to pick every Christophe Clement, Joel Rosario horse, this could be Joel's 3,000th win. I know that he's extremely excited about it. He hasn't slept in months.
I haven't seen him.
I told him he was 2-way the other day. He said, really? That was the extent of his excitement. That's Joel. Source was compromised by a total lack of pace last time out, and I think he's supposed to get a fairer trip in here.
Yeah, that's it.
You know?
That's it.
Yeah.
I thought it was the 2 Chad, the 3 and the 7, the 2 Chads with a little 12 in between.
Yeah, I don't. What do you do with Storm Tornado, who absolutely sucked last time? And this horse was terrible last time.
I think you gotta.
You don't. We had this discussion yesterday, and we saw where Linda finished. You can't draw a line to this last race.
No, I think you gotta hope this horse is going to be better on the cutback.
By the way, I made a mistake. The next video is not good, Francisco. The God Glimmering one. I apologize. That one was an MTO.
I think you just got to hope that she's a little bit better.
You
know, I thought her best race was the 7/8 race, the first race in the country. Because you could argue the second one was
But
better,
why
a
didn't
little
she
bit
finish
better.
that day? I think that's Chad's thinking. Chad's thinking might be that she's not really finishing in those races, and maybe shorter's better. And when you get to here,
That's why I think the 7/8.
maybe 7/8 was too far.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, getting back to 6 should getting to 6 for the first time, I think, should help the cause. You know what? Her biggest problem is also going to be now. There's not a lot of pace in here. So,
well, let me ask you a question. What do you think of my horse for third, Royal Collection? It's very odd. Do you remember the dam of this horse? The dam was a very, very good stakes horse that Bobby Barbera and my friend Pete Minikis owned. That's my friend Pete Minikis. He named this horse for his daughter and then sold her. I think that says it all
That's
about
brutal.
Pete, and those of you out there that know Pete, I think you understand.
Wow.
As I kid, let me tell you something. As Ned Beatty said in Old School, to be fair, it's a very big check.
Back to school.
Back to school. It was a very big check.
Very large. It was a very large
She
check.
sold after she won the Gladiolus at Belmont in 2008. My first year here. She beat a Mott Live Oak horse in that race. And she went on. She was great. I mean, they did well. No, Leal did very well with her. I mean, she won like the Lake George. She won a grade 3, a grade 2, and she hit the board in a bunch of grade 1. She had a very good career. And it's a good turf family. It's interesting that they keep sprinting this horse.
Mm-hmm. Well, they ran along on the turf first time,
I bet.
and then it's been all sprints.
Yeah, and
Dirt
and now she gets on the right surface sprinting. So I had to put her in there, and partly because she's a big price, and I have but I think my argument makes a little bit of sense. This is supposed to be the right surface for this horse, and Arnaud Delacour is not a moron. He knows that she was a distance horse.
He'd be very happy to hear you describe
But I'm saying he's not. He understands the pedigree of this horse, and yet he's running her insistently in sprints. So he must feel as though she's a sprinter.
Well, the money's on top really isn't going to help him get a distance of ground, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what he thinks, and I think she deserves a chance because I'm going to be honest with you. Who's the killer in this field? I mean, I guess if Stone Tornado runs, she's the fastest horse, but I can't trust her completely. I think that Chad is sort of saying in here, okay, I got a sprinter because I don't know what to do with her after her last race. What else can I do but cut back? I will say he's done well with the cutback.
The two Chad horses are in a logical spot, and maybe a horse like Canton AD gets loose and keeps going, but there's no one in here that you're supposed to be afraid of,
right? I mean, Secure Connection maybe improved, but I don't know.
Secure Connection is a horse that was in for 40,000 already.
I know,
and
I'm not going to take her off a win at Kentucky Downs because I just don't trust those races. But I'm not going to be shocked if she runs well either.
Me
but
either.
It's that kind of race.
It's that kind, but it's a kind of race where I don't think you have to be afraid of any one, maybe circumstance. But
and if you think the race is going to be slow, isn't Kitten's Cover Girl a little better going shorter, and she's going to be close?
She is, and she should be. She should be in hollering distance for certain.
This is a really interesting race. I'm so glad this race stayed on the grass because I think there's a lot of possible contenders and a lot of different things to discuss about this race. Race number 9, the Artie Schiller. I put up on Twitter if you didn't see and it's available on YouTube. Artie Schiller's maiden win, which is one of the most thrilling races you'll ever see.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a lot of response. People that hadn't seen that race. It's such a great race. Rinaldi and Therapist. So David's got Therapist favored. Breaking now from post number 8. Going 2 turns at a mile. Would you really bet Therapist at a short price?
No.
Therapist?
No.
I will say he might be the best horse in this race. I don't buy it, the 102 buyer. That race came up too fast last time. He ran well in there, all things considered. But you know what? I just... And the other thing is, I scratched in Rinaldi second, but I'm going to say something. Now that the rails are out, I don't like Rinaldi in here. I think he's totally dressed up in Saratoga. The Bond Barn is just, I mean, and I love those guys. This is not personal in any respect. I'm friendly with all of them, and I want to see them do well. But they be the first to admit they had a tremendous Saratoga meet. Their horses can't get out of their own way since Saratoga.
He hasn't gotten a lead 4 times. He's gotten beat. He got the lead 4 times and he won.
Yeah, but he got dressed up at Saratoga with a crawl in there. I mean,
I do like
Anthony,
the fact,
those are kind of dressed up
I do
wins.
like the fact, well, I like 2 things. I like the fact that he's loose. I like the fact that he's had success on wet turf. His best race came on a wet turf, and I think his better races at 3-year-old was on a wet turf. So his 2 best races each year have been on wet turfs. He's supposed to, he's supposed to be loose.
He is. I don't care. I got him second. I would use him. I don't trust him. I probably would have looked at this race differently. if it had been. What about Valid Point, by the way? Speaking of horses, can he run anymore? I don't. Was he ever that good? Was he ever good enough? What about Delaware? We'll take a look at Delaware finishing second to front run the Fed. It was a very nice performance by him. He was awful last time at Woodbine. The problem with Delaware is it's a horse that Chad Brown got from Juddmonte after he ran inexplicably badly in the Prix de Moulin. And at the end of the day, I don't know if he's very good.
I'll tell you what the weird thing was. He didn't give him Lasix the first time he was here. Then the Lasix went on second time, and he jumped up. And he ran really well. The blinkers and the Lasix went on.
He ran well.
He ran well that day to front run the Fed, who we both have a
Oh, he's a good horse.
Yeah, have
If he had a clean trip in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, he would have been right there.
Chad Brown sent a bunch of horses.
And generally they did poorly, but not as badly as this horse. Anthony, this horse was atrocious.
I didn't love his trip. I didn't love his ride. Listen, some of those other rides were a lot worse than this one. But he got some really strange rides up there, man. And it was tough this year. Horsemen south of in the United States not allowed to send riders to Canada, so you had to use the local colony, not to knock the colony, but he got some real doozies up there.
And let me say something else.
Wow, that's part of the reason
Chad
I
got
like
this horse from
today.
Andre Fabre. Chad Brown may be the best trainer in America. Andre Fabre might be the best trainer in the world.
For 35 years. Yeah.
And so it's not as though you get a horse from Andre Fabre from Europe and you can expect to improve the horse.
I don't, listen, everything you're saying, it resonates and makes sense.
But once again, he can win this race.
I do think now he's getting into a spot where, he's getting a huge rider change back to a Rod Ortiz Jr. Yeah, I mean, I think he makes some sense.
Let me ask you a question. David's got Ballaroc's 12-1 in here. He is off the claim, so that probably mitigates things a little bit. Here's his win. He is in career form. I guess the claim, though, is one that's going to get people to stay away from him.
Yeah. I mean, off the Lure win, he regressed 8 speed figure points.
You know why?
8 points
you know why?
last time.
Because the pace was ridiculously slow.
It was slow. It was slow. I mean, as great a job as Dave Donka's done with winning Factor, man, there's a little bit of a different kettle of fish in here, isn't it?
That's why they kept the fig low, but I still think it's a better effort than it looks. But maybe his date. Okay, as far as Hawkish, I thought Hawkish got extremely unlucky in the poker. Man, every move he made, things blew up in his face.
Yep.
And there's an argument that he could have won that race. Put it this way, if he got the trip the winner got, who, by the way, disappeared in the triangle somewhere,
he would have galloped.
He would have won.
Yes, he would
galloped. That second to Sacred Life is a legitimate race. Sacred Life ran a gigantic number that day. Last time out, he ran a Kentucky Downs. I don't know what went wrong there, but it's Kentucky Downs. I'm not going to... This is an interesting horse. I thought Hembry was very interesting in here, and I think Hawk is interesting. I scratched into it when Hembry came out, and I don't mind, because it's going to be a price, and honestly, at the end of the day, this is a really fun competitive race. I'm not scared of anybody in here.
No, I don't disagree with that either. Jimmy Toner got a win the other day with Mischief Afoot. Coming back here, the source, they put the blinkers on last time out, rip them right off for this start.
Blinkers, yeah.
So...
even I circled that.
Yeah. I mean, it's important, when a horse runs as poorly as he did last time with some, I mean, obviously, a big part
was the blinkers. Well, I don't know, it was a big part, but also maybe Kentucky Downs. Interesting race.
When a guy like Jimmy Toner does it, I'm going to trust in a big part of that was the blinkers.
This is a great card today, by the way. And it's been kind of a disaster the last couple of days. The race is coming off the grass.
Complaining about the early double, but because the early double was a little tough today, but after that, the card's fantastic.
This is a very, very good card.
Fun card. Money to be made on this card today.
Very important member of the NYRA team just announced their arrival here at Aqueduct. I'm very excited about this. I'm not going to tell you who.
I know who it is.
But it's a very exciting moment there. You actually don't. I guarantee you'll get it wrong.
Okay.
Race number 10. So what do you do with the caretaker? We both have him second. We'll take a look at his race last time out. But this is one of these horses, if he runs, he's going to win. Another horse off a voided claim. Let me ask you a question. How many voided claims has Linda had? And when are we going to find out why these horses have their claims voided? And now he got his voided for 40, he's back in for 25. This is why you need to start letting the public know why they got voided. Give me the information. We'll get it on the website. Let's do that. Let's get that information going forward. Let's provide the bettors, the people who keep the game going, with as much information as we can. I don't know what to do with this horse. He's going to gallop if he runs, but how can you trust him?
Can't.
Bronx Bomber.
He's gonna
You like him because you're a big Yankee fan.
He's going to gallop if
Admit it.
Caretaker shows up. He's going to gallop.
You like Bronx Bomber because you're a big Yankee
I picked this one for Johnny I.
Because you're sucking up to Johnny
Picked
I?
it for Johnny I.
That's really touching, you leading the public astray so you can suck it to your friends. Well, not like the first time you've done it. Okay, go ahead. I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
Go.
Well, there are only 3 faster horses than him in here.
Who's faster than him?
I love Lulu,
I guess the
Thorny
7.
Tail,
Hold on
the
a second.
7.
Hold on a second. Hold on. You did not really just say I love Lulu, did you?
Well,
you were going to trust that I love Lulu can still...
No, but she has speed. I have no idea. A horse wired a field yesterday. They just let that horse have the lead the last race. The horse I bet at Saratoga. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying around here is I'm not betting on paces because they're letting horses have leads that aren't the fast horse in races. So nothing surprised me around here. How that horse was loose yesterday, did Kendrick really think it was good? I mean, Kendrick's one of the aggressive guys in the room. I'm a Kendrick fan, but that was not. And I think after the race, Kendrick thought to himself, maybe I didn't make the right choice in there. You know?
Yeah. I'm counting on Kendrick to be aggressive in the end. I think if this horse gets I think if he gets in front of these, and this is a horse, I know you're going to poo-poo this. He's 0 for 10 everywhere else. He's 4 for 10 at Belmont Park.
You're right. You're right. I'm going to poo-poo.
I know you're going to.
They're not even his best races. The best race he ever ran was at Saratoga 2 back when second to Foolish Ghost. Yeah. Anyway, okay. We disagree. It's fine. I'm not. Listen, this race, I had this horse open. I got this horse about 1 of 8. I got open in this race.
I was about to say.
Not impossible. I took a shot with Kosciuszko in here. Kosciuszko is a horse that has had some trips in his races. Comes back first time as a gelding. He takes a significant drop. He's coming out of a race where the pace held together against better horses. Yalpon. That Dark Money race was a speed track that held together. What's wrong with his race in February back at Aqueduct? That race could win here. This horse drops down.
Ran him for the tag last time for the first time.
Gets pace. There's going to be pace in this race. I don't care how you cut it. They've got to be moving a little bit up here. I thought he was interesting at a price.
Yeah, that's fine. I left him open. You know, there's a horse that I did not put on the top 4.
Well, you got the notice in there. You got
what about Big Thicket? Is he just done? Or can it return to Aqueduct, the drop in class?
Aqueduct's best racer at Belmont.
No, I understand that, but maybe sometimes just to change the scenery. This horse had a good winter last winter. Now maybe
Does Rudy like him?
I haven't talked to him. Maybe he just can't run anymore.
He's been awful, but he is
he's
dropping.
dropping back into a spot where he's dropping into a state claim.
We got to go because I got to get upstairs. A lot of horses can win this race. I'm not going to be shocked
left 8 of them open.
by a lot of horses that win this race. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, head over to nairabets.com, become a member, support racing in New York. Think how much fun you just had. You can see Performer and bet it through Naira Bets. That's Performer and Joel Rosario, who, unbeknownst to him, is 1 away from 3,000. I know he's probably hasn't slept since I told him that. Head over to Naira Bets if you're not a member. We'll match them to $200 your initial deposit. Use the promo code MATCH200. Also, the Cross Country Big 5 every day that Churchill and Naira and Aqueduct are running through the end of November. 8 here, 8, 9, 10 here, 6 and 7 at Churchill. 1 hour's worth of action. Those have been good, those cross-country Big 5s. They paid well. And keep in mind, they were off the turf. I don't know if any of those 6 and 7s were scheduled for the turf, because I'm only doing the first 4
I don't remember.
today.
I do not recall.
All right, we're done. Johnny I, he's not done. He's just getting started. He's up next, the reprise, the scratches and changes.
Mañana, everyone.
Hello, racing fans, and once again, welcome to Aqueduct. A sunny Saturday at the Big A with the temperature in the 50s. The main track is muddy and it is harrowed. We are on the turf today for races 3, 6, 8, and 9. The outer turf is yielding and the rail is up at 12 feet. The inner turf is good. That rail is up at 9 feet. And please note that race 3 has been switched to the outer turf course. We have a jackpot carryover in the Empire 6 of more than $67,000. Today's first race is off the turf. It'll go on the main track at 6 furlongs, same distance. Scratch 1, Dream Point. 6, Flincher's Rock. Scratch 8, Out of Tune. Note that number 9, Martinez, will run with blinkers on the 9. Scratch 13, Dancing with the Stars.